If you grew up in and around the 1990s and early 2000s, you undoubtedly remember a lot of those hot hatchbacks that kind of helped define the automotive landscape and culture at the time. They were made popular by the Fast and the Furious series of movies, and a lot of people were buying them and either driving them stock or upgrading them for fairly inexpensively and having a fun car that was still kind of practical to drive around and enjoy on the weekends as well. And of course, one of those nameplates that we've all come to love is the Acura Integra. Now, Acura brought this car back last year, and it's not quite what a lot of people wanted. I talked all about that and why I think people are kind of wrong about that in a different video with the regular Integra, but now we've got the hot one. This is Out Motorsports, the channel for cars as you are. My name is Jake, and this is the 2024 Acura Integra Type-S. This is the hottest Integra. It's on the same platform as the Honda Civic and thus the Honda Civic Si and the Civic Type-R, but this is technically the hottest one. It's also the nicest one. So let's talk all about what this thing is, talk about what you get with the Type-S in particular, and then of course get it on the road and see how it is as a driver's car. So then what is this 2024 Acura Integra Type-S? Well, like I said, this is on that shared platform between the Honda Civic and the Integra, and what they did to make this a Type-S comes in a lot of different little bits. So starting up front here, you've got a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder. It's a K20C. It's part of that famous K20 family that a lot of people have come to love, both in a street car and in a race car. We've seen a lot of Honda Challenge race cars and Grid Life race cars and all these things be built with K20. So this is the turbocharged version of it. And in here, it makes 320 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. It's 5 more horsepower than a Civic Type-R. However, this car is a touch heavier, so power to weight-wise, they're probably going to be right about the same. Now, power is fed exclusively to a 6-speed manual transmission, and it goes to the front wheels only. There's no all-wheel drive here. We'll talk a little bit later about why that's okay. Front wheels only through a limited slip differential, which we love to see. Now, you'll notice I've got some fender flares here. This is one of the biggest, coolest things about this car. They widened the track of the wheels, both front and rear. You get 3.5 inches wider track up front and 1.9 inches wider track at the rear to give you a more planted ride, to help with cornering, and also to fit some wider tires. So these are a 19 by 9.5 inch wheel with a 265 Michelin Pilot Sport tire on it. So plenty of tire here and plenty of brake underneath to help you stop as well. You've got Brembo 4-piston calipers up front, and they've upsized the rotors both front and rear. Now, suspending all of this is a standard set of adaptive dampers so the shocks can get stiffer or softer based on your drive modes. And then if you look out back, you've got a tri-tip exhaust that is valved as well, so it can get louder or softer based on your drive mode. Now, there's some other changes inside the Integra Type-S. Starting off with the seats, this car has that light orchid interior, and that's going to be this kind of black and white two-tone. They've got a couple options that you can pick from that are all really cool, really pretty. And what Acura does is they actually stiffen up the bolsters versus a regular Integra. So the seats might look similar or the same, but they are indeed a little different. Now, those are power adjustable and they are also heated. So two things you're not going to get on that Civic Type-R, despite that being more or less a very similar car. Another thing you won't get on the Type-R is a heads-up display. Acura's got that going on, which is also very handy. And the other big thing that I love about this car is the ELS Studio 3D sound system. That is kind of an Acura thing. ELS is their premium brand. It is generally phenomenal, and it is indeed very, very good here in this car as well. Styling-wise, this is what it is. I happen to love it. Let me know in the comments if you love it or hate it. They've got some great colors going on. This one is called Apex Blue Pearl. They also have Tiger Eye Pearl, which is this great kind of gold, yellow, orange color going on. And of course, you've got the red brake calipers. These wheels are going to be this charcoal gray color. You can also get, for quite a bit of an upcharge, it's over $2,000, but you can get bronze wheels, which I think are awesome. Love that they offer that as an option from the factory. Bronze on the blue or on white or whatever can look really, really cool. So that's kind of what's going on with this Integra Type-S. And then of course, these are all more of like a liftback style. It's not a 4-door sedan, it's a liftback, so you can have a bigger opening back there. It's a quasi-hatch, the back seats fold down, and you can haul plenty of things. Now, MSRP of this guy is a little over $51,000, and that sounds like a lot. However, if you adjust for inflation, the hottest Integra Type-R that came out in 2000, that works out to be roughly a $44,000 car in 2023 money. And of course, this is indeed more expensive, but you're getting a lot more car for the money. So 44 versus 51 to me doesn't seem all bad, because much like all of us grow up, so do cars. So I don't hate the fact that the current Integra fits the current automotive landscape. It's a 4-door, it seats 4 people, much more comfortably than a 2-door hatch, and really 2 doors aren't selling. So for a variety of reasons, Acura and a lot of other people are just not producing coupes right now. Maybe that'll come back, we will see, but for right now, this is what you're gonna get when you look at an Integra. Now, I think it's a fabulous car, so let's get behind the wheel and talk all about how it is to drive. All right, let's talk about the 2024 Integra Type-S. So really, I don't have a lot of bad to say about this car. I like every variant of what this thing is built on, which is to say the base Honda Civic chassis that they turn into the Civic Si and the regular Integra, and then the Civic Type R and the Integra Type-S. Now, I have really enjoyed my time in the Civic Type R, and Acura doesn't want like total comparisons to these cars, but everyone else is going to do it anyway, so we're going to talk about it. This, to me, is just, you know, it drives like a Type R, but it feels more grown up, if you will, which for some of us is a plus and for some of us is a minus. You may not want a little extra refinement, you know, necessarily, but all of the good applies here. It's just a fantastic engine. There's a teeny bit of turbo lag when you really get into it from a stop. You feel it there, but that means that it makes power all the way to redline. It feels really, really strong all the way until you bang off the fuel cut, right around 7,000 RPM. So that is just fantastic. It's that K20C, turbocharged K20, and it's just a fantastic engine. The shifter is typical Honda, Acura, fantastic. It's kind of nice with the red inlay on the shift lever itself on the knob. The one thing I don't like about this entire car is the kind of perforated leather inlay of the center of the shift knob. There's this stitching that when you grab the shift knob hits your palm right here, and it just feels kind of weird. It's an odd sensation. I think they probably did the stitching to just look kind of cool, and I don't love it. It's a weird feeling, but good news is if you hate a shift knob, you can usually replace it pretty easily. So if that's the only real complaint that I've got, then so be it. But the shifter is great. The gearing in this car, I think, is generally well spaced, and it's got auto rev matching, so you can turn it off. You go through some menus on the touchscreen, but you know, if I'm going from 6th to 3rd, I can just go back, and it just does it. It makes it really nice and easy in traffic in particular, so I don't mind having it on. The clutch is really great. It's appropriately weighted, not too light, not too heavy. I'm driving back from a beach town back toward DC right now, and you know, in traffic, the clutch is really not a big deal. So that is also really great. But it's not so light that you feel like you're driving a video game car. So really great. You know, the kind of typical Honda, like all of the sensory inputs that you get from the car that let you work with the car are just nice. The steering is also fantastic. This is something I've said since I drove the very first Civic that is this generation of vehicle. I drove like a Civic Touring or something that was, you know, automatic, very kind of, you know, average, what a lot of people would buy. And even then I was like, wow, the steering is really good on this car. Nicely weighted. It gets heavier in Sport and Sport Plus modes, but even in the Comfort mode, it's still like nicely weighted. The steering wheel's a good diameter. I love the perforated leather here. Everything about it is just like a nice experience. And here again, we're downshifting to slow down for somebody. The auto rev matching, life is easy. The brakes feel good. There's really good initial bite. You know, good feeling all through the pedal travel. I've gotten into the ABS a couple times just to try it out, but you don't really, you know, you're never going to get there generally. But confidence inspiring the whole way through. And you know, this car's on nice summer tires. It's got plenty of tire under it. Tires are not super noisy. They are plenty wide. You've got plenty of grip, and with that comes that limited slip differential, which does a really nice job putting power down. You do feel a little torque steer. It gets a little squirmy, only if you're really banging on it, and that's okay. I had some commenters say on Instagram, oh, I really wish they would have given it super handling all-wheel drive, which is a totally fair thing to think about, because SH all-wheel drive on like the Acura TLX is phenomenal. It overdrives the rear axle. It makes the car handle really well, and you don't feel like it's necessarily a front-wheel drive car. But for the Integra, for what this car is, you know, I don't want all-wheel drive in it. I think it's actually more fun because it's a little less perfect. I've said that about other cars in the past on the channel, and I think having it be front-wheel drive, it's got the limited slip, so it will put power down, and it will lay front-wheel drive 11s. Let me tell you, it will do it. but it will kind of fight at you a little bit, but it gives it character, it gives it personality, and that to me is just so much better than being like technically perfect and having, you know, the power to spin all four wheels. Like, who cares? You know, if you live in the snow, like a snowy area, get snow tires. And if it's snowing that bad, you're not going to take an Integra Type-S with a, you know, big shovel of front bumper out anyway. So, you know, think about how people are actually going to use it. And I'm cool with just the LSD. It does a really nice job. It is funny, I pulled a U-turn with traffic coming, and I had to really, you know, pin it in first gear, and it put power down so well, I was not expecting it, that my foot actually slid. I was gonna go for second gear, and I actually just, my left foot slid off the clutch pedal, and I kind of had to get off the throttle so I wouldn't like bang on the rev limiter, but it was, it's like I was not expecting it to just turn and go and just kind of grip. It was really fantastic. So the differential works really well, the tires work really well, everything is just a nice package. And then as far as ride comfort and exhaust, those are the two other things worth mentioning here as far as kind of drivability. The ride comfort, you've got the standard adaptive suspension, so the shocks can get stiffer or softer based on the drive mode you're in. You've got Comfort, Sport, and Sport Plus. They will kind of ratchet their way up or down. And then you've got an individual drive mode that lets you pick all your different aspects of, you know, how much throttle response you want, steering weight, shocks, exhaust, that sort of thing. The exhaust also does get louder. So if I pop it into individual, I've got everything turned up except the suspension, because why do you need a stiff suspension on a road trip? You don't. But it is a nice ride. Even in the stiffest Sport Plus setting, it handles, you know, lousy bits of road pretty well. Go ahead and click it up there. And, you know, it obviously is stiffer, and it'll feel good through a corner, but even when you hit these kind of imperfections and, you know, expansion joints and stuff, it's not a mess. It's not transmitting a ton of, you know, feeling and discomfort to your body. So it's just generally like good body control. And then the exhaust does get nice and loud. And what's really kind of cute is they have programmed in a little burble tune only in Sport Plus or in the individual with it turned all the way up. And if you slow down here and kind of hit it and lift off, you can probably hear it. It does the same thing every time. It does a pop, pop, pop. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that. Anyway, it does the same thing every single time. It's kind of cute in traffic. It's fun. The exhaust, I think, sounds really good with that tri-tip exhaust. It's a fun setup. So I really enjoy that. And then otherwise in here, you know, the interesting thing that Acura did to separate this from the Civic Type R, among many other things, they actually stiffened the seat bolsters, which is kind of a little thing, but for the sake of cornering, I just appreciate the fact that they did that. Among everything else they did, and you know, it's not like huge differences otherwise, but that's just like a little tweak that I really like. So the seats are very comfortable. I think they're really, you know, a great place to spend a lot of time. They're power adjustable, which they're not in the Type R. They have lumbar support, which they don't in the Type R, and they're heated. So pretty nice there. There's no heated steering wheel, which is something I think Canada gets. Kind of a weird omission, I think, but you know, whatever. If that's the worst thing to complain about, it's not so bad. And then as we leave the light, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of wait and pin it just a touch. I don't know how much you can tell. The steering wheel does just shimmy just a touch, but you know, it does a nice job putting power down. You do get some noise out of the engine mounts. You know, if you're really wailing on it, the engine kind of smacks the one engine mount a little bit, I think. My old Ford Focus ST used to do that too. Again, it adds a little bit of character to the car. You're not really hurting anything there, but it's just a fun car to rip around and play with, and it feels so kind of light on its feet and playful. And that is something that I think a lot of modern cars don't get. And this is fairly light overall. This is, you know, under 3,200 pounds roughly. And you just don't get that. So the fact that this is a modern four-door, four-passenger sedan with a stick shift with 320 horsepower, modern safety, you know, real performance chops with all the hardware between the suspension, the diff, you know, the big wheels and tires. They really worked to keep weight out of it, and I just really appreciate that. You know, you've got lighter weight wheels. They kind of just went everywhere they could and pulled a little weight out. So I am such a fan of that versus oh, well, it's modern, it's got to have all the safety and the tech, so it's, you know, 4,000 pounds. Like, I'm looking at you, BMW M2. Why are you 3,800 pounds? Anyway, this is great. It feels very agile, very nimble, so super fun. The other thing that they've got in here that the Civic Type R doesn't get, that is the big reason for me to pick this car over the Civic, is the ELS Studio 3D sound system. I love ELS as far as a premium system overall. In a lot of different Acuras I've driven, and Honda's got Bose now, and it's fine. It's probably fine for most people, but if you are an audiophile, even a slight bit, the ELS Studio is just really that much better. It's so good, super balanced. I really enjoy it. I think it's one of the better systems on the market as luxury car systems go. So that, I think, is just kind of a nice cherry on top. But that ultimately, plus the styling and the interior, just the slight tweaks everywhere, this, for me, is the one I would pick over the Type R. That's not to say the Type R is a bad car. It's really just, it comes down to what you want and what you value. It's a super lovely car. I think it looks great. It's comfortable. You've got good visibility, great seats, nice ride quality, a very fun drivetrain. It's the whole package. So the fact that I don't like the shift knob is it's kind of all I've got for feedback for Acura. But otherwise, this is just a lovely car, and it's you know, it's not often that I drive something and enjoy it so much that I could see myself wandering over to a dealer and thinking about, you know, what would this cost me. But this is one that I truly think would be fun to have and own and, you know, keep for a little bit. All right, and that is it for this review of the 2024 Acura Integra Type-S. Thank you so much for coming along. As always, thank you for watching. Please be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe right here on YouTube. Give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at @OutMotorsports. If you'd like to join a growing community of LGBT automotive enthusiasts and motorsports competitors, head over to outmotorsports.com. We've got a whole group over there that would love to connect with you both online and in person at our events that are taking place around the United States throughout the rest of this year and into 2024. Till next time, please stay safe, be well, see you again soon.